The Zodiac Killer. Can we finally unmask him? The Zodiac Killer is one of the most notorious and enigmatic criminals in American history. Between 1968 and 1969, the Zodiac Killer is believed to have murdered at least 5 people in Northern California, though he claimed to have killed as many as 37. Despite several investigations, suspects, and a trail of cryptic letters and ciphers sent to the press, the true identity of the Zodiac Killer remains a mystery. Over 50 years have passed, and yet no one has been conclusively identified or brought to justice. The Zodiac case continues to captivate the public, investigators, and amateur sleuths, and new developments still surface to this day. So, can we finally unmask him? The Zodiac's first known attack occurred on December 20th, 1968. High school sweethearts Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were on their first date, parked in a remote area of Vallejo, California. At some point during the evening, a man approached their car and opened fire. David was shot once in the head, while Betty Lou attempted to flee but was shot 5 times in the back. Both died at the scene. This murder shocked the local community, but at the time, no one knew it would be the beginning of a series of brutal killings. 7 months later, on July 4th, 1969, another couple, Darlene Farron and Michael Mageau, were parked in a similar secluded spot in Vallejo when they were attacked. The assailant, later identified as the Zodiac, approached the car and fired multiple shots into the vehicle. Darlene was killed, but miraculously, Michael survived the attack and would later provide police with a description of the killer. Michael described him as a heavy-set white male, around 5 feet 8 inches to 6 feet 0 inches, wearing dark clothing and glasses. Shortly after this second attack, the Zodiac Killer began sending letters to local newspapers, taking credit for the murders. These letters were no ordinary communications. They contained coded messages and bizarre symbols that would go on to become the Zodiac's trademark. In one of his earliest letters, the Zodiac claimed, "This is the Zodiac speaking," giving himself the infamous moniker. The Zodiac also demanded that his letters be published, threatening further violence if the media failed to comply. One of the most famous letters, sent to the San Francisco Chronicle in 1969, included a 408-symbol cipher. The killer claimed that once solved, the cipher would reveal his identity. Despite the police and cryptographers working feverishly to crack the code, it was a pair of amateur cryptologists who finally deciphered the message. Unfortunately, the solution revealed no identity, only a chilling message. "I like killing people because it is so much fun." On September 27, 1969, the Zodiac struck again, this time at Lake Berryessa. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were relaxing by the lake when a man approached them, dressed in a hooded costume with the now iconic crosshair symbol drawn on his chest. The man tied them up and proceeded to stab them repeatedly with a knife. Brian survived the attack, but Cecilia tragically succumbed to her injuries. The Zodiac left a message on Brian's car door, writing the date of the attack, his symbol, and a note indicating that he had also committed the Vallejo murders. This attack marked a significant escalation in the Zodiac's methods, as he shifted from shooting his victims to stabbing them in broad daylight. Just 2 weeks later, on October 11th, 1969, the Zodiac struck for the last time, at least officially. San Francisco taxi driver Paul Stine was shot and killed by a passenger in the upscale Presidio Heights neighborhood. This murder was different from the previous attacks, as Stine was not a young couple in a secluded area, but a random cab driver in a busy urban setting. After killing Stine, the Zodiac took a piece of the victim's shirt as a trophy and mailed it to the San Francisco Chronicle. The Zodiac's final confirmed letter arrived in 1974, in which he mocked the police and media for failing to catch him. He claimed responsibility for more murders, though none could be confirmed. In the years that followed, the Zodiac case grew cold, with no new developments and no definitive leads. But the letters, cryptic codes, and taunting nature of the killer have kept the case alive in the public's imagination for decades. Over the years, numerous suspects have been proposed as the Zodiac Killer, with varying degrees of credibility. One of the most prominent suspects was Arthur Leigh Allen, a convicted child molester who lived in Vallejo during the time of the murders. Allen matched many aspects of the Zodiac's description, and several pieces of circumstantial evidence seemed to point to him. However, DNA evidence taken from one of the Zodiac's letters did not match Allen, and he was never charged. Another notable suspect was Gary Francis Post, whose name surfaced in 2021. Post, a former Air Force veteran, had lived in California during the Zodiac's killing spree and was believed by some to resemble the sketch of the Zodiac. A group of investigators calling themselves the Case Breakers claimed that new forensic evidence and testimonies linked Post to the killings. However, law enforcement has yet to confirm this theory, and doubts remain over whether Post was the Zodiac. More recently, in 2023, a French cryptographer named Faisal Ziraoui claimed to have cracked one of the Zodiac's remaining ciphers, known as the Z13 cipher. Ziraoui believes the cipher reveals the name KAYR, which he argues could be a signature of the Zodiac. However, many cryptography experts have cast doubt on this interpretation, and the true meaning of the Z13 cipher remains unclear. So, can we finally unmask the Zodiac Killer? While the case has fascinated the public for decades and has seen numerous breakthroughs, the truth remains elusive. The Zodiac's taunts, cryptic messages, and refusal to be caught make him one of the most infamous serial killers in history. His ability to evade capture for so long has led to countless theories, books, and movies, but the question of his identity persists. Despite the advancements in forensic science, including DNA testing and new methods of crime scene analysis, the Zodiac case continues to stump investigators. Some believe that the killer is dead, taking his secrets to the grave, while others hold out hope that modern technology will eventually reveal his identity. The Zodiac case is a reminder of the complexities of criminal investigations, especially those that span decades, and how even the most infamous criminals can slip through the cracks. In the end, the Zodiac Killer may never be unmasked. But his reign of terror, his cryptic letters, and his ability to instill fear in an entire region ensure that he will remain one of the most infamous figures in American criminal history. As long as there are people intrigued by unsolved mysteries, the Zodiac case will continue to captivate minds and fuel speculation. Could the answer to the Zodiac's identity be hiding in plain sight? Or is it buried in the thousands of pieces of evidence still awaiting examination? Perhaps one day, with advancements in technology and persistent investigation, we may finally unmask the Zodiac Killer. Until then, the mystery endures.